Hello, my teen friend. So today I'm going to introduce some of the most fundamental issues in Guqin playing. And these are something you need to know even before you make a sound from your instrument. So the first thing is, the relationship, spatial relationship. Spatial relationship between your body and your instrument. So just like you play piano, your teacher might tell you you should sit in front of the middle C, etc. And don't be too close to the instrument. Don't be too far away from the instrument. So Guqin is the same. We have the same issue to consider because it is a fairly long instrument. You cannot hold it in your hand, in your arm. So you have to sit in a certain spatial relationship with the instrument. So the first thing is, so there are three dimensions in terms of the relationship between you and your instrument. The first is the height, right? So how high you should sit? Well, the height, the absolute height of your table or your chair is not as important as the relative height difference between your chair and your table. So the first thing is, in terms of the height of the table and the height of your chair, is 8 inches, right? So the difference between the height of your table on which you put your instrument and the height of the stool or the chair you sit is about 8 inches. This is smaller than the normal height difference between a reading table and a normal chair. So the height difference between a normal study table and a chair is about 11 inches, less than a feet, less than a foot, but it is about 10 to 11 inches, that height difference. So in another word, if you are using a normal chair to play Guqin, you need a lower table. If you are using a normal study desk to play Guqin, you need to have a higher chair. You can put a lot of thick, big books to sit on your chair. So that's the first dimension. The height difference between the table and your chair should be 8 inches. In fact, once you put your Guqin on a table like that, the height of the string will be roughly the same height as your study table. So in another word, it is very similar. The way you sit and work on your Guqin is very much like you study in front of a table. It's just you need to make your instrument part of the consideration about the height difference. So that's the first dimension, height. The second dimension is the how close you should sit to your Guqin. Well, that distance, my experience, the best one is 2 fist length. Right? What's the fist length? So this is the fist length. Right? You put 2 fists together and that length. That is when you are sitting relaxed, straight. All right, your body is perfectly perpendicular to the ground. Your body to the edge of your Guqin should be 2 fists, right? So here, 2 fists. And that distance is when you are sitting straight. But when you start to play, your body will get closer and farther away from the instrument, depending on which area you are using on your instrument. If you are using the lower reach, called 下准, so this is the lower reach, your body is going to be closer, right? About 1.5 fist. So I call this 1.5 fist. This is 2 fist. This is 1.5 fist. So, for example, if I'm reaching to the really low 会外, out of the mark position, so my body is closer, about 1.5, and sometimes even only 1 fist. So get closer. So you are kind of like embracing your instrument, right? But when you start to use the middle reach, so this is called the middle reach, from the fourth hui to the seventh hui, that's the middle reach, and your body should be getting back, getting away from your instrument so that your arm can come to those locations. You are not supposed to push your body tilt. So this is wrong. And what you need to do is actually, so get your body back and allow your arm to come to the upper notes. And this is evenly more so for the upper reach. All right, so this is called the upper reach, which is from number 1 to number 4 hui. And once you get there, so your body is really going back, and in that case, it's kind of more than 3 fist distance, right? So that's the second dimension. Sitting straight, 2 fist length, and getting closer for the lower notes, and getting further away when you are playing the high pitches. So in any case, your body should be straight, right? It shouldn't tilt left, shouldn't tilt right. So you go back and forward to allow your hand to reach different marks, different location on the string. So that's the second dimension. The third dimension is left and right. Are you supposed to sit here or supposed to sit here? Right? Obviously here, because I'm sitting here. Right? So that position, the middle of your body, right, should be facing the 4.5 hui position. Right? Here. So this is number 4. This is number 5. So the middle of your body should be in between those 2 marks. This is called 4.5, right? Somewhere there, right? So once you have these 3 dimensions fixed, then you know where you should sit to start playing Guqin, right? A few remarks on, even before you start to play Guqin. The number 1 principle is be relaxed. Right? So you be very, very relaxed. Shouldn't be tight on any part of your body. Try to be relaxed, especially your shoulder. Right? Your shoulder should be balanced. It shouldn't be, one shoulder high or, the other shoulder high. So the shoulder should always be relaxed and be on the level, on the, horizontal level. So when you are relaxed, put your hand on the string, you should find that your forearm is relatively flat, it's horizontal to the ground. Right? So if you find, so that should be the right, position when you are sitting on the, table and the chair of the right height, right? So be relaxed, and your forearm should be horizontal. If you find when you put your hand on the string, your forearm is like this, you are sitting on a chair that is too low. If you find your arm, when you rest your hand on the string, like tilting like that, that means your chair is too high. Your table is too low, right? So it should be horizontal, parallel to the ground. Right? So that's another way to double check whether you are using the table and chair of the right height. So another principle is your feet. Right, your feet should be perfectly landed on the floor. Right, both your rest your sole, not just to the heel, not just to the toe, but the whole palm of your feet, both of them, solidly landed on the floor. Right, they could be, I'm using my hand to mimic my feet. Right, they could be perfectly parallel to the instrument. That's okay. Right, shoulder width. Right, that's your feet. Shoulder width could be parallel. It could also be your left foot is a slightly forward and your right foot is slightly back. So it could be like this or this. One of the reason is because the length of the instrument on your left is longer than the length on your right. So sometimes you do need to tilt your body a little bit in order to reach the really low. So that tilt sometimes is allowed when you try to get a really solid sound on the lower ridge. So when you are doing that, you will find if you have your left foot slightly forward, you have an easier. It is easier for you to make a balance, right? So your body should still be stable if one of your foot is slightly forward, only slightly, maybe only like 2 inches forward, right? Shouldn't be too much. And in any case, do not make your right hand forward and the left hand back. So left feet back, left foot back. Right. This is wrong. Absolutely wrong. And it could be just on the same, on the same front, and could be the left foot slightly forward for those lower ridge sound. All right, so I think those are the most significant issue. There are a lot of other issues to consider, coming down the road. But I wanted to introduce the first technique in this one as well. Basically, I'm trying to substitute this tutorial video of my Chinese one. So about a year ago, I started making Guqin tutorials first in Chinese, and then after a while, a lot of friends sending me message saying, I really wish this tutorial have an English subtitle or even Chinese subtitle so I can auto-translate it into English. And I tried to do that, but it turns out that to do that, I will spend a lot more time than just make a new video. So I just decided to make the English version of those tutorials that were originally published in Chinese, and this is the first one of them. I numbered them the same, so they were all numbered A1. So if you have been paying attention to my to my Chinese tutorial, so I'm using this. Let me see. Right, I'm going to. So if you look at this, this is my channel. So so here we have the tutorial section. So if you click on this list, you will notice that they are, sorry, yeah, excuse me. Yeah, if you view the full playlist, you notice they are numbered A1, A2. So these are all in Chinese, but I think as soon as I made a poll, and I know that most of the friends following this channel can speak both English and Chinese. So I decided to change Chinese into Chinese. I think starting with around the number 10, I start using English to make these tutorial videos, but the earlier few are still in Chinese. So I decided to do a live stream in English, and this is the number 1. So I still number them the same way. So this one is A1. So there's one trick to know whether my tutorials or my introduction to Guqin classics are in English or Chinese. If you see in the title, the Chinese come first, then it is in Chinese, followed by the English translation. But if in the title, you read the English first and then followed by Chinese, that means that tutorial or that introduction to classics is in English. All right. So basically, I'm making these new tutorials of those earlier Chinese one in English. So in addition to introducing the basic pose, I also introduced the first fingering called Go. All right. So I've used my book, obviously. So you can use the it's a study number 1, and I'm also making play along videos combining the music score with the sound recording of one of my friend who played the whole book. So I use that so you can actually play along. So in the study number 1, I introduced Go. All right, Go is the middle finger going inward. Right. So we use 4 fingers on the right hand and the 4 fingers on the left hand. The right hand to pluck and the left hand to stop the string. So for the right hand, the fingerings are grouped into 2 types. One type is called inward. Inward is basically when your fingering is doing in the direction that turning the palm into a fist. That's called inward. And when your finger is plucking the string in a way to make your fist into a palm, that's called outward, right? 入旋, 出旋, inward, outward. So the middle finger inward is called Go. Right? So each of them are named because Guqin is a very fingering-centered instrument. Right? So each of those fingers, their inward, outward, had a special name. And today we are introducing one. And I want you to remember first the the sound of that fingering called Go, Go, and it spells G-O-U. And you also need to remember after this tutorial and after the first study playing along to be able to read what indicate Go in the Chinese 简字谱 is that. Right, so this is the first fingering. The upper part indicate open string. That basically means open string. And the lower part, you see that Go, and then you see a number. And that number on the lower part indicate the string number, right? So together, that one means open string, Go, first string. and then open string, go second string, go third open string, go fourth open string, etc. So today we are just going to learn that line, right? Just one fingering. So this is the go. I'm going to play this. Another very important issue. So before you practice, before you play, perform any sound, you might have been watching my video. You notice the beginning is always this. So the beginning, you put your left hand when you are playing open string, or before you start a piece, you rest the tip of your left hand, in between the 9th and the 10th hui. Make sure your upper arm, lower arm, wrist, and hand create a graceful curve, like an S curve, right? So this an S curve. Relax, put it right there. And it shouldn't touch any string, right? So you can see there's a space. Just rest it casually and in between the 9th and the 10th hui. Right? So this is the first half of study number 1. All go. All right, so that's go. The technique of go is we will learn the first method to play go. There are many different ways to play go and to play other fingering like tiao. But today we are going to learn the most fundamental go technique. That is when you are instructed to go first string, rest your right hand on the first string, on the same string, right? Then keep your index finger and sometimes your little finger, your pinky as well, but raise your middle finger and your index finger. Ring finger and pinky stay on the same string. And then rotate your middle finger. At the same time, your middle finger change from straight to curve, and strike the first string. Simultaneously, you release the ring finger. You release other fingers, originally resting on the string. After you go 1, your middle finger should rest on the second string. We call it neighboring inner string. So for the strings, we also have special terms. Those strings away from your body is called outer string. And those strings closer to your body is called inner string. So string number 2 is the neighboring inner string in relationship to string number 1, right? Go. The plucking place normally should be in between the bridge and the first hui. So this is the first hui, and there are in total 13 of them, right? So this is the bridge. So the place where you pluck, no matter whether it's go or tiao, should be in between. So this is the bridge called the Yueshan. It's called the mountain range in Chinese, the bridge. So should be in between. Sometimes if you want to get a softer sound, your hand should get closer to the hui. You get softer sound. If you want sharper sound or more kind of metal-like sound, your hand can be closer to the Yueshan. But it should be in between. Could be closer to, I sometimes play closer to the hui because I like the softer sound. But if you are playing harmonics getting to the bridge can get more brittle and clear kind of harmonics, right? So it should be in between, somewhere there. It shouldn't be too far into the hui, shouldn't be too close to the bridge, should be somewhere in between the first hui and the bridge, right? So I call that, this goal, all right, resting your hand, starting position, find your position to strike. So in another word, the part of your middle finger touching the string should be exactly the place where it will touch the string when you pluck. Right? So that way, you put your hand there, rest your hand, raise the middle finger, keep the other two fingers on the same string, and go and release those two fingers and rest on the neighboring inner string. And you do this for the rest. So if you are doing it in the right way, your the part of the string touching your middle finger should be precisely the place where you are supposed to start the next cycle. Right? Rest, rest, all right. A common mistake to make is not retrieving the arm. Right. So when you are plucking from string 1 to string 7, your arm should be constantly retrieving, going back. Right. So if you don't do that, you start to tilt up your wrist, and that is bad. So a common mistake to make is like this. This is wrong, right? So you should move your hand back as you getting progressively to the inner strings or the other direction. You should adjust your arm, adjusting it in a way that each time when you are plucking a string, your hand is in the same relationship with the very string you are plucking. Right? So watch this again. 散勾一 rest, retrieving. 散勾二 rest, retrieving. 散勾三 rest, retrieving. All right. So do not retrieve your hand when you are plucking. Only retrieve your hand and arm, adjusting those positions between your hand and your strings in between the plucking. So when you are doing the go, the only part of your body moving is your middle finger. That should be the only part of your body that is actually actively doing something. So those adjusting should happen in between those plucking, right? So 勾四, striking open string number 4, right? Rest, raise. So I'm going to pluck. My arm and hand shouldn't move. The only part moving should be just my right hand fingers. All right. Now after that, this is the time you adjust. You retrieve your arm. You adjust your hand position in the right relationship to the new string. In this case, it's a 5th string. So after that adjustment is done, then the hand arm is not moving at all, just the finger. Right? After the striking, adjust, retrieving. Retrieving. Right. So that is a very important principle. So how to tell whether your relationship of the hand is in the right, good relationship to the string? Here is the trick. Imagine there is a curve 1 inch above your string, but parallel to the surface of your instrument. And imagine you are rubbing or kind of petting, like petting your dog or rubbing your cat, right? And that should be the right relationship. All right. So imagine the curve parallel to your instrument and feeling that, and that should be how your hand should be go forward, or retrieve. Right. In another word, you can also do it on the string. If you do it on the string, it's just a lower, but you have the same feeling, right? In another word, it should be like this. That you are not rubbing, you are plucking, all right? So it shouldn't be like that. So that wrist should be, very kind of flat as well. It bulge up a little when you are doing the lower string. It becomes totally horizontal when you are doing the middle strings, 4, 5, 6, 4, 5, 3. It is going down when you are doing 6th and 7th string, right? So if you are feeling that surface, that should be your wrist, right? In another word, lower string, the wrist is bulging a little. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? 6, 7 string, that wrist should be having this kind of angle, right? 4 here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's basically that kind of a relationship. Shouldn't be sharp angle like that. Shouldn't have sharp angle like that, right? So it's a very kind of gentle movement, and that is a good relationship. And you should maintain that. And retrieving your arm guaranteed that you maintain that good angle, comfort, relaxed angle, whichever strings you are plucking. Right? So this is the goal, right? And I call this same hand retaining finger. So in my teaching, in my method, I have one of the key, there are a few key concepts. One concept is retaining finger. There are others I will introduce down the road. Retaining finger is when you are plucking a string where you put your hand, right? So you shouldn't be plucking string like this, jumping around. That's wrong, right? So you are plucking a string, your hand is landed on somewhere, right? Use the middle finger go. Today we introduce the same string retaining finger, right? Plucking 1, retain your hand on 1, and then pluck. Adjust, retaining on 2, raise, pluck. Adjust, position, 3, 4, all right. I think that's enough for today. I'm glad to see some friends are online, and if you have questions, I will be happy to answer. All right, thank you, and I will see you next time.